recording now. Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, so guys, 7.4, hypothesis testing for proportions. So the same way we did hypothesis testing for population means, we can do hypothesis testing on proportions. And it says this is particularly useful when testing claims over a percentage of defective parts or likely voters or approvals and stuff like that. Okay, so my friends, we do have a little formula here, and we're going to use this formula, y'all. But if you remember from the last couple of days, I was showing you how to do this on the calculator. We're going to do a couple of things. One, we're going to figure out how do we find our standardized test statistic. There's a formula here, y'all. It's p hat minus p divided by the square root of PQ over N. And I'm going to walk you through that process, y'all, and showing you how to do that in a second, okay? All right, so how do we do a z-test for proportion? So we're going to verify that the sampling distribution of p hat can be approximated by normal distribution. This is if n times p is bigger than or equal to 5 and n times q is bigger than or equal to 5. We're going to state the claim mathematically and verbally. We're going to identify both the null and alternate hypothesis. We're going to look at the level of significance. We're going to find our critical values. We're going to look at our rejection regions. We'll find our standardized test statistic. That's going to be the little formula. And then we'll make our decisions, okay? So look, y'all, I'm going to scroll down here to my first question right here. Okay, and let's see if we can't read through this thing here together. So it says, a medical researcher says that less than 77% of adults in a certain country think that healthy children should be required to be vaccinated. Okay, so look, y'all, I'm going to just highlight that first sentence. Okay, this is our claim. Our claim says less than 77%. So the percentage, y'all, is less than 77%. Okay. So that's my claim. So look, y'all, I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to identify the claim in the scenario. And there is a couple of options. So y'all, when I'm looking at something like this, the first part that I see is the less than, right? So when I look at my choices, A through D, it looks like A, right? Less than 77% in the country think that healthy children should be required to be vaccinated, right? Okay, now, second thing, y'all, I want you to notice when I wrote out my claim over here on the right side of my screen, would that be my alternate? Would that be my ha, or would that be my ho? Anybody know? That's the HA, right? That's the ha, right? So look, y'all, if we wanted to find the ho, then we would say P has to be the opposite, bigger than or equal to 77%, okay? So now, y'all, I want you to look at what I wrote right here. And I want you to look at the choices that we have on the next part, okay? So when I look at the next part, y'all, and I got these choices here, I got these choices here, A through F, okay? The ha should be less than. So I'm going to look at my choices up here and I'm going to say, okay, which one has the ha being less than? And it looks like choice D, right? Now, y'all, when they're doing this here and you're going to enter your numbers in, what they want you to do, instead of writing 77%, they want you to write it as a decimal. So in both those blanks, y'all, we're going to write 0.77, okay? All right. Now, before I go on, y'all, I'm going to draw a real simple picture. You know what my pictures look like, kind of messy, but like that, okay? And then we need to figure out, hey, is this going to be a left tail test, a right tail test, or a two tail test? Y'all remember, the way we figure that out, we look at the ha and we look at the arrow. Which way is that arrow pointing? That arrow is pointing to the left. So we got a left tail test, okay? And this is where our alpha is going to be. So y'all, I'm going to zoom back out again a little bit. And it tells me right here at alpha being 0.05. Okay, now y'all, I want to find that critical value. The way I'm going to find that critical value, y'all, we're going to go inverse norm of 0.05. Okay, So look, let me grab my calculator real quick. Here we go. Let's turn it on. Let's clear our screen. We're going to go second bars. We're going to go to number 3, inverse norm, 0.05. And y'all, I'm coming up with a negative 1.64. Okay. So that number right there, negative 1.64. Remember, my friends, that's my rejection region. And this is my fail to reject region, okay? Now, if I'm looking at this thing here, my rejection region, it's this region over here. So my rejection region is going to be when I'm smaller, right, than negative 1.64. That's the area. If we land in that area, that's when we would have to reject the null hypothesis, okay? All right. Now, we're going to find something called the standardized test statistic, y'all. I'm going to give you the formula and how we're going to do this part right here. Okay. The formula says we're going to take p hat minus p divided by the square root of pq over n. And I'm going to put all this business, y'all, in parentheses, because when I'm doing this on my calculator, y'all, I want to definitely use some parentheses here, okay? Now, let me scroll back over here. Let's scroll back to the original problem that we got, and let's see if we can find some things. All right, so let's do this. In a random sample of 200 adults, so look, y'all, my N is 200, okay? 74%, that's my P hat. That's my 0.74, okay? Think that healthy children should be vaccinated, okay? So now let's come back over here. We're going to figure out a couple of things. Okay. So y'all, first thing I'm going to do right here. Look, my P hat, we said that was a 0.74. Minus RP. RP was the number that we were using over here, y'all. That was a 0.77. Now, I'm going to do my denominator. I'm going to put a big old square root, y'all, because I'm going to have some stuff on the inside of that square root. Now, the first number I'm going to have is my number P, which we said was 0.77. Then we need to find the number Q. Y'all, if you remember, Q is always 1 minus P, right? So 1 minus 0.77. So if I said, hey, what's 1 minus 0.77? Oh, that would be 0.23, right? So look, 0.23. Now, all of that, y'all, is being divided by the number n. And we said our number n, sorry, right here, was 200. I'm going to clean that up a little bit, y'all, because I know it looks a little messy. So let me clean this up a little bit. Boom, here we go. 200, boom. And let's see if we can't figure this out. Now, y'all, the hardest thing is when you're doing this is making sure that when you type this out on your calculator, that you type it in the right way. So look, let's go parentheses. 0.74 minus 0.77, close it off, divided by parentheses again. Now we got a big old square root. So look, let's type in a big old square root. There it is. And in parentheses, 0.77, close them off. In parentheses again, 0.23, close them off, divided by 200, okay? Now, I'm going to back out once, and I'm going to close my parentheses because it opened it up right in there, okay? And I'm going to hit enter. And y'all, if I'm going to go to 2 decimal places on my calculator, I'd come up with a negative 1.01, okay? So right here, y'all, I'm coming up with a negative 1.0, oops, come on, pen. Negative 1.01, okay? So y'all, I need to figure out where does that number fall on my picture, okay? So look, if we know that the number right here in the middle is 0, and that's negative 1, our number would be, boom, right about there, negative 1.01. So we are in the fail to reject region, right? So look, y'all, we're going to come back over here. And we're going to say we're going to fail to reject, right? Okay, now I got to figure out what am I going to write here and what am I going to write there. So let's scroll back, y'all. Let's see. Was my claim the ha or the ho? Our claim was the ha, right? So y'all, I'm going to go back to my, where is it? My cheat sheet thing, right? My claim was my ha, and we failed to reject. So we're going to say there is not enough evidence to support the claim, right? So I'm going to scroll down over here, and we're going to say there is not enough evidence to support the claim. And you're done, right? All righty. So look, y'all, let's try another one. Let's try another one before we go on. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. And I'm going to take a look at this question here. All right. And I'm going to look at the first sentence, y'all. Okay. So first sentence here says, a research center claims that at least 30% of adults in a certain country think their taxes will be audited. Okay. So we're talking about a percentage. At least 30%. Remember what at least 30% y'all means? It means 30% or more, right? This is my claim. Question, would that be the ha or would that be the ho? That's the ho, right? And you say, how do you know it's a ho? Because as long as it has the equal to part, y'all, that's the ho. So then we're going to say the ha is P is less than 30%, okay? So again, when I start to look at my choices for part A, at least, what do we say? 30%, right? Choice B. Okay, now, y'all, like I told you, when we're going to do the second part, instead of us writing the percentage, they do want us to write them as decimals. So the first thing I'm going to do here is say, look, my ho has P is bigger than or equal to. So I'm going to say, okay, which one has the P is bigger than or equal to for the ho, and the ha is P is smaller than? Wouldn't that be choice C? Right? So right here, y'all, all we're going to do 0.30 and 0.30. Okay. All righty, all righty, all righty. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. Okay, well, let's see. Before we do that, let's take a look. What do you think? Left tail, right tail, two-tail test. What do y'all think? Look at the ha, y'all. Which way is the arrow pointing? To the left, right? So we got a left tail test, y'all. So look, we're going to do this. We're going to draw a picture. Boom. We got a left tail test. Here is my alpha. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. My friends, alpha is 0.05. Okay, so just like we did before, we're going to go second bars. We're going to go to inverse norm. We're going to type in 0.05 so we can get our z-score. We should get negative 1.64 again, right? So here is my critical value. Remember, y'all, this is the rejection region. This is the fail to reject region, okay? So we're going to reject as long as our value is smaller than negative 1.64, okay? Now, let's see if we can figure out a couple of things. We want to find our standardized test statistic. Y'all, I'm going to show you how we're going to do this, okay? So let's take a look. Before I do anything else, I want to write down some other pieces of information. Look, y'all, in this random sample of 700 adults, so my N is 700, it said 26% say they're concerned that their taxes are going to be audited. Y'all, I want to find my X. What I mean by my X is how many people are saying, I know it's 26%, but it's 26% of 700. So look, let's go 700 times 0.26. This is telling me that 182 people out of those 700 think that their taxes are going to be audited, okay? So let's do this, y'all. The way we're going to find our standardized test statistic, we're going to use our calculator, okay? So look, guys, I'm going to grab my calculator here. I'm going to clear it out. I'm going to go to stat. I'm going to go to tests. And I'm going to do number 5, the one proportional z-test. Okay, so I'm going to go like this, number 5. Okay, and let's see. My P0, y'all, is the percentage that we were talking about from the beginning. And the percentage we were talking about from the beginning was what, 30%? So we're going to put a 30 right there. Okay. Now my X is a number that I just found out right now, y'all, which was the 182. And again, remember how we got the 182? It told us 26%, but it was 26% of 700. So I'm going to go 182, okay, out of my N, which is 700, okay. Now, next part, y'all, was this a left tail, right tail, or two tail test? Left tail. So we want to go to this one right here. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to click on that guy. I'm going to click enter. And then I'm going to go to calculate. Oh, something happened. Let me see. Let me try this one more time. Let me quit this. Boom. Let me go to stat. Let me go to test. One proportional z-test, number 5. Let me just make sure that should be the one. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Boom. You know what? Let me see if maybe this needs to be, you know what it needs to be? Sorry, guys. It needs to be a 0.30. That was my bad. Okay, now let's calculate it. All righty, here we go. And we got our z-score. The z-score is right here at the top, y'all. If you notice, it is negative 2.31. So I'm going to scroll down right here, y'all. And the answer that we came up with was a negative 2.31. Now I need to figure out, am I in the rejection region or am I in the fail to rejection region? Look, y'all, that's negative 1.64. Negative 2.31 would be over there, which is still in the rejection region, right? So right here, we're going to say, we're going to reject the null hypothesis, right? And then I'm going to scroll back up to the top, y'all. My claim was the hoe, okay? So look, I'm going to come back to this guy here. The claim was the hoe, and we're rejecting it. So we're going to say there is enough evidence to reject the claim, right? So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to say there is enough evidence to reject the claim. There we go. The way we got the X number, y'all, was when I came back to the question, it said, look, there were 700 adults and 26% of them were concerned about the taxes. So we said, look, let's take 700 times 0.26. So that means out of the 700, 182 of them are concerned about their taxes being audited. That's how we got the X number, right? All right. And guys, if you notice something, when we did the test on the calculator, look what the little p hat was. The little p hat was 26%, right? 0.26. And that was the number that we had right there. Okay. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah. There we go. So look, y'all, we got another question. We got 2 more to go, y'all. Let's see if we can knock out these last 2 and we will call it a day. Okay, so let's take a look here, y'all. I'm going to, again, read the first sentence. And it says, an education researcher claims that 62% of college students work year-round. Okay, so look, y'all, they're telling me right now, my P is equal to 62%. Y'all, that's going to be the hoe, right? And that's our claim. So the ha is going to be P is not equal to 62%, right? So y'all, when I'm looking at, again, when I'm walking through the process, I already know I'm going to choose part C and I'm going to put 62% right there, right? Okay. And then we're going to say, let P be the population. Okay, so let's go back and let's take a look at this. This is what I'm looking for right here, y'all. And I'm going to look for the one where it says the hoe is equal to and the ha is not equal to. And that looks like choice E to me, right? And again, y'all, all I'm going to do is type in a 0.62 right there. Okay. Now, first thing we need to do when we get to this step, my friends, we got to figure out, is this a left tail, right tail, or two-tailed test? It's a two-tailed, right? Because we look at the ha. All right, so look, y'all, we got a two-tailed test. What we have to do with the two-tailed test, y'all, right here, they're telling me that alpha is 0.10. So we need to cut that number in two because that's going to be the areas over there, okay? These are going to be my rejection regions, my friends, and these will be our fail to reject, okay? So I think we already did this a couple of times today, but let's do it again. Inverse norm, 0.05, okay? Negative 1.64, but y'all, we have two of them, right? So we're going to have negative 1.64 and positive 1.64, okay? So right over here, negative 1.64, positive 1.64, and I'm going to choose option C. Boom, like that, okay? And now, y'all, we're going to find our standardized test statistic, okay? So, y'all, we're going to use our calculator for this again, right? So, look, let me scroll back up here to the top, y'all, because there's a couple of things that we need to know when we're going to do this. Let me clean that up a little bit, and let's look at this. Okay, couple of things here, y'all. And those pieces that I just underlined is what I'm going to use, okay? So, look, let me clear my screen. Let me go to stat. Let me go to test. Again, I'm going to go to my number 5, the one proportional z-test, okay? So look, my p, in this case, our p is what, 0.62? So we're going to go 0.62. Okay, our x is the number of people who say they're going to work year-round. There was 248 of them, right? But there was 248 out of a total of, what, 400? There we go. Okay, and then we said this was a two-tailed test, y'all. So I'm going to click that one right there. And then I'm going to go to calculate. And for my z-score, y'all, I got a 0. I got a 0 for my z-score. Okay, so look, right here, my friends, I'm going to put my z-score was a 0. Okay, in case you're wondering where that is, that's the number, boom, right in the middle. So it looks like we failed to reject, right? So right here, y'all, I'm going to say we fail to reject, okay? Now, again, I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Our claim was the hoe, and we failed to reject. So when I look at my cheat sheet, y'all, my claim is the hoe, and we failed to reject. We're going to say there is not enough evidence to reject the claim, okay? There is not enough evidence to reject the researcher's claim. All righty. So, y'all, I'm going to scroll down because I got one last question to do, okay? I got one last question to do here, my friends, and it says, according to a publication, 14.1% of 18 to 25-year-olds were users of marijuana in the year 2000. Okay, so look, y'all, let's take a look right here. Boom. The claim. The claim is that P is equal to, what is it, 0.141? Because that's going to be my, okay. Now, is that my ha or is that my ho? That's the ho. So my ha would be that it's not. So right here, we're going to say 0.141. And the ha is that the P is not equal to 0.141. Okay. Now, y'all, the way this question is set up, they want us to find the test statistic first. So we're going to find our test statistic. We know that this is going to be a two-tailed test. Let's go ahead and find what those critical values are, okay? So y'all, this is a two-tailed test. In this case, our alpha was 5%, which is 0.05. But remember, we need to take alpha and divide it by 2 because it is a two-tailed test. So that's 0.025 and 0.25. These are our rejection regions, my friends, and that is our fail to reject region, okay? Let's go ahead and find the critical values first, and then we'll go ahead and do the test statistic, okay? So look, y'all, I'm going to come back over here. Let me clear this out. Let's go second vars. Let's go inverse norm, 0.025. Okay, let's go like this. Okay, y'all, I'm coming up with negative 1.96. That's that one there, and positive 1.96 for the other one. Now, let's go ahead and find our test statistic, okay? Guys, to find my test statistic, I'm going to clear my screen. I'm going to go to stat. I'm going to go to tests. Again, I'm going to go to number 5. Okay, let's see. RP in this case is 0.141. Okay. All right, now let's take a look. It says in a recent poll of 1,273 people, 206 currently use marijuana. So 206 is going to go right here. My N is the 1273. Okay, we're still looking at a two-tailed test, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and calculate. And my Z value, guys, I'm coming up with is 2.13. Okay. So, y'all, if you want to know, hey, where is 2.13? 2.13 is over here. That's in my rejection value, right? Okay. Our critical values, y'all, that we had was a both positive and negative 1.96, right? And I think it wanted me to go to 3 decimal places. I'm just going to 2 for right now. Okay, but we can fix that. We can figure out what it was in a sec. All right, so now we're going to reject because we know we're landing in the rejection region. So look, y'all, it's got to be either B or C, right? Now, the way I'm going to figure out, our claim was the hoe, right? So look, if my claim was the hoe and we rejected it, we're going to say there is enough evidence to reject the claim. So I'm going to come back over here. There is enough evidence. And if I look at that, y'all, that looks more like choice B because we have sufficient evidence to reject the claim, right? And there we go. All right. So, y'all, what I want you to notice about the way we did these problems, y'all, everything from 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, we did them all very much the same, okay? Now, like I said, y'all, on Thursday, we're going to do like a group assignment. The assignment, everybody's going to get the same paper. And all you got to do is you can work together, you're going to fill it out together, and you're going to turn it in. So this is what we're going to do. I want y'all to look at something here. Like in this question, do you see how it says in a random poll of 1273, that's my N, right? And there were 206. That's my X, right? This is what we're going to do on Thursday, y'all. Look, we're going to come back over here. We're going to look at this thing. Right now, what is my N? How many family members have we looked at total? Anybody know? Remember, these were the number of members in our family. How many members in our families do we have so far? What, 164? Okay. How many of them use tobacco? 15? Isn't that kind of like my N and my X? We're going to do a problem, y'all, like that. Okay. It's going to be real similar to this stuff here. So again, y'all, make sure that you guys are here on Thursday because we're going to do a group assignment. There will not be a live session. So make sure you guys show up Thursday and we'll do a problem like this, y'all. You're going to work on it together. I can't help you, but you guys can work together. You can use your notes. You can even go back to the YouTube video if you need to. Okay. But it's going to be set up very much like the way these are here. Okay. Anywho, that is it for us today, guys. I appreciate y'all showing up. I will stop recording the session. Let's go like that. Boom, stop it.